Hey everyone, welcome back to the studio. I have been gone for a hot minute, so I thought I would finally come on here and explain what's been going on that's been keeping me away from YouTube. And I wanted to share with you what happened in that past little bit that led to me having my first 8K month as a painter and artist and what changed. So, a lot of you may know, because I've mentioned it before, that a couple years ago I lost a career that I had spent nearly 20 years building, and I had no idea what was going to come next. I just knew that I could no longer continue along that path. And then, so fast forward to this year, and I've had my first 8K month as an artist, and it's only July. And so that's really cool. And it wasn't luck, and it wasn't a viral video, and it wasn't one expensive painting sale, but it was the result of a lot of small decisions that completely changed how I think about building an art business. So I wanted to share what actually changed because I think a lot of artists, including myself, have focused or do focus on the wrong things. So recovery definitely came first. After the workplace discrimination and bullying and losing my career, I thought that I would bounce back in a few months, but I didn't. It took about a year and a half before I could even start to think straight again. I had to wait and go through the human rights tribunal process and go through mediation with my old employers. And that was really draining. And I was unable to sort of put the thought patterns and processes behind me until that was resolved. So my old employers and I did finally settle. I'm not allowed to say the amount, but I will say that I do appreciate that I feel like they recognize that they did cause the harm that I told them that they had caused. And so I was compensated for that. And I would say my recovery after that moment went pretty quickly. It's almost like it's almost like there was a nervous ghost living inside my system. And when they agreed that harm was done and we came with a settlement, it's like that ghost left. And see, I'm already getting emotional thinking about this. It's like it dissipated. So from there on, I was finally able to let my nervous system relax and start to focus again. And like I said, it took about a year and a half because it took about a year and a half of wait time to get to that tribunal process. And I honestly don't think people realize how long it can take to recover. I didn't start feeling like my actual self again until this year, and it's been 2.5 years now since that happened, since I left that place. So that's crazy. Like it takes a really long time to build yourself back up. So another thing that I did, which is really important, is I stopped treating my art business as a plan B. So as you grow up and as you go through life, if you're a creative, you hear a lot that trying to be a full-time artist and making your living as an artist is a bad idea. There's all those myths around the starving artist. And it's just, it's really deeply ingrained in our psyche that it's not a smart business and professional path. There's obviously ways to go about it. I tried those ways, and as I said, they just led to bullying and burnout, so they were no longer for me. Those are the more corporate art directions that you can go, like video game production and teaching and 3D architectural rendering, which is what I was doing in the past. But those were no longer, I felt they were no longer plausible for me to continue. I had always sort of treated my creative businesses like my dance company that I was building when I was working at Ubisoft, and like my art business. Up until then, I've been trying to sell paintings since 2019, but they always took a backseat to my real jobs. And my identity was always tied up in those real job titles. But so what I had to do when I left is stop treating my business like a plan B. So this is probably the biggest change. And people throw around the word mindset very often, which is sometimes kind of vague. They don't always explain what they mean by mindset. But for me, it really wasn't about positive thinking. It was just about making one decision that my art business was going to become my primary professional focus. Didn't mean quitting my retail job. It just meant that every decision that I was making going forward had to build the art business. So the other thing that I stopped doing, and it sounds counterintuitive, was chasing painting sales and starting to build predictable income. As wonderful as painting original sales are, they're incredibly unpredictable. One month you may sell several paintings. I seem to always have a good month, actually around now in June. but the next few months you may sell nothing. Another little peak period seems to be just before Christmas and around, major holidays. So you can kind of predict some of those things. But sort of creating a predictable income base for your art business, I think is really important. So instead of relying on one stream of income, I've started building sort of an ecosystem of income streams. So wedding painting actually became a big focus of mine, and I'm so excited and so happy that I made that decision. Not only do I love the process, I love painting in public, I love meeting people, I love the challenges, the artistic challenges that my clients bring to me. It's just such a wonderful experience. It is quite draining and intense. If you're a shy studio painter, it's probably not for you. Not everyone can hack being in public while creating like this. It's high stakes too. Their weddings are really important to them, and this is like a major memory moment, and you have to be very mindful of that. So that's another thing that kind of like weighs heavy on me, but I really love. So that became a really sort of important part of my business planning. And the cool thing also about the wedding painting, and I would suggest whatever you're doing to try to find something similar or structure it in a way that this could happen or be possible, is when it comes to services like this, like wedding painting, you take a retainer for your time. So it's now June. If I know that there's a wedding coming in September and I'm booking the client now for September, they're going to pay me a small retainer. Right now, it's in the $200 range, depending on their package. And then when it comes 1 month, so like in August, they're going to have to pay the final payment. And sometimes, there's a payment plan for the more expensive one. So maybe there's like 2 or 3 different periods during the year where they pay small amounts, but it has to be paid in full before their wedding. And the cool thing is when you map this out in your financial spreadsheet, I always just put it in advance, like, okay, this wedding is booked. Here's my retainer that I just got, and then I'm getting like the second payment and then the third payment. And when I look at my books, I can actually see where money's going to be sort of fatter or leaner already just by this. So creating yourself some sort of stability that way is really, really helpful. And then I continue teaching and taking on new classes. It's a great opportunity. Again, it's really fun. I really love interacting with people and helping them reach their goals. That's really kind of deeply ingrained in me as a personality, loving teaching and loving transmitting knowledge and watching people get excited about their own growth is just so rewarding for me. So that has been really helpful. And again, it's sort of a more predictable thing because the studio that I teach out of, she books classes well in advance, and I just look at the schedule and I write it into my calendar, and I know exactly how many hours that class is and when it's happening and the hourly rate. So again, it's numbers that I can put across my book in advance. If it doesn't happen and it gets canceled, which can happen, it's rare, then I just remove that money and that's fine. And then I can then see, going forward, is this actually a fat or lean month coming up? It's really, really helpful. So teaching has been really great. I accept a lot of commissions. I know not a lot of artists like to do this. They want to work on their own stuff. And as much as I love building what I call my studio inventory, which is my own personal series of works that I want to develop with my own story and my own intentions, it's so rewarding for me to work through those processes. I also really love doing commissions. Clients bring to me some really fun projects. I'm just working on one over here. You can see it's blurred out. It's a little beach scene in the Georgian Bay region of 2 kids on the beach. And it's just, the images that the client provided were just so charming. And the lighting was weird and they weren't composed for a nice painting. And I had to rework everything and relight them. And it's just been like such an interesting collaborative process with my clients. So commissions are not all bad. They're stressful because you're sort of trying to please someone else's artistic vision that they have, and they're sort of working through you as the artist, but just keeping people on top of, the process and giving them sketches and things can really be helpful. But yeah, so commissions have been really great, and they're a little bit like painting sales in that they're really unpredictable and you don't know where they're going to come in, but they're really rewarding when they do come in, and it really helps to sort of buffer some of those leaner months sometimes. And there are different periods of the year that generally are stronger for commissions, like around holidays and gift giving time. So that's really important to keep track of also. And there's like wedding has a season. I'm more busy in spring and summer and less in fall and winter. But then like I find portrait commissions are really, really strong around Christmas time, especially for watercolor. So I can kind of I know when and where to market what and how far in advance to try to get those commissions in. And I kind of adjust my strategy accordingly. to help if I already know it's going to be strong in a certain area to sort of help bump that sort of income stream up for that period. I put my efforts ahead of it. Um, so yeah, I've also, I've kept building my newsletter. If you sign up to my newsletter, you get 20% off originals, no questions asked. When you sign up, you get a discount code. I've been selling everything through Etsy. It just keeps all of my books very straight. At tax time, it's a lot easier. I just download Etsy. I'm not dealing with like weird cash purchases and things anymore. It just all goes through my Etsy account. And then it does help because then I can always ensure that my collectors that are signed up do get their discount and their benefits. I also have some affiliate income coming in. Let me see what else. Just little things like this. So just finding like ways of spreading that income. So if anything becomes lean at any point, something else might become stronger. And it just kind of helps to balance your books over the years. So it's a little bit less stressful running this business. I do want to keep building my YouTube channel. I want to keep you guys up to date with, what's been going on. I will probably be slower in all honesty, just because, like I said, I do have to focus on the things that are help moving the needle and keeping me stable. And with all the stress that I've gone through over the couple of years, financial stability and having like a solid base to feel like I'm standing on and not standing in quicksand all the time has become really important to my mental health and my ability to just function. So yeah, I just find like instead of just hoping things would succeed, I kind of tried to structure my thoughts and my process around making things that would support each other so that it could succeed. And that's been really a helpful payoff. I also became intentional about my part-time job. So when I left my other career, it had a good salary, it had nice benefits and perks, um, and it felt prestigious as a role. I really enjoy the work that I was doing. It's really sad that it went the way that it did. But when I transitioned, I decided because partly I was so stressed out, I needed something that was sort of low responsibility, low stress, just to recover. But I really wanted to make sure that my retail job was supporting my long-term goals. So working in an art store, I think, was really important. There's other places that you could find. Maybe in different like school settings or like administrative roles where you may be in contact with people who would like art sales, like museums or cultural centers, retail, like front desk even. It's funny when you're at front desk of things, you can chat with people and people like it when you're curious about them. But when you're curious about people also, it gives you a lot of information. And so that's been really helpful. When I have beginners coming in and they're curious about art materials, I start understanding sort of the needs and the sort of sticking points of budding artists and the things that they need to grow. And so as a mentor, it gives me ideas on how to help people grow in their art career or in their art making process. It also just provides some financial stability so that you have groceries and bills paid while you're building this other thing. So if things are slow, it's not as stressful. And I will say this, it takes a lot more patience than you're probably willing and ready to give to build this. It does work. There's sort of a critical mass where things take off, but you do need that patience. So having something that at least gives you some sort of stable financial bedrock to stand on while you're building that. But I wanted to make sure though that it was a job that wasn't going to be psychologically irreplaceable in a way. Like my other career, I had worked so hard for it. My identity as an artist and as sort of a career professional was sort of tied up in that. And so I needed a job that was not going to be like, I needed a job that was easily replaceable, to be honest. So, if I lose that job tomorrow, I can go get a job as a waitress somewhere. I can do something else if I need it. At this point, I've gone down to 2 days a week. They may be more symbolic than anything. I enjoy being there. I enjoy hanging out with my coworkers. They're fabulous creative people. I really like our clients. That workplace has been very good to me. So I don't want to leave that job actually. So I don't know, maybe I'll just forever keep those 2 days. But it's just, I don't want to have to be tied to the necessity of a single employer. And if that falls apart, my life falls apart again. That's not going to happen. So I just wanted something that was going to support my long-term goals and give me the flexibility that I needed while also giving me something stable, predictable schedule, a bit of a stable income while I built my business. Let me see what else. Yeah, so I also invested in myself, which I think was really important. Already my art, I felt like it was at a sort of decent level, and I was selling paintings. I've been sort of consistently selling paintings now since about 2019. Um, but I did realize that, my work wasn't in a consistent voice that I needed. I wasn't really achieving, when I had a vision for a painting, I wasn't really achieving that vision consistently. So I signed up for mentorship with Tim Packer. He is an amazing Canadian artist who has a small group, the Hungry Artist Community, and it's a really nice community for artists to sort of exchange ideas. And he also gives like art critique for those who need it. And in my case, I don't feel like I need the art critique so much now. I did earlier, but now it's more of a business critique and strategizing. So that's really helpful. He helps on both levels. And I have also recently been signed on as a mentor for Mastrius, which is an online community that kind of does the same thing as Tim in a way, but it's small groups and you have a mentor that is skilled in a particular area. So for me, I'm doing like landscapes. And so I will be taking an aspiring group of artists and sort of giving them strong foundation in art skills so that they can build their works to the point where they can then hit, emerging artist level and start selling their work. And I just want to basically speed up their process. So I spent years kind of picking away at different tutorials with like Andrew Tischler and like I said, Tim Packer, and who else have I been with? Oh my God, so many. Um, Robert Watts is amazing for his composition, and I've read dozens of books and just sort of it was a slow burn. It was a really slow burn. Also spent money obviously on my bachelor in painting and drawing, so this has just been like something that's been building, and I want to take all of that knowledge and condense it into something that's really actionable and easily digestible and give it to my mentees. So I'm really excited to do that. I will be starting that group in September. And like I said, I love giving back to budding artists, and that's just something that has always been in my personality to want to sort of bring people up and forward if I can. So that's sort of my motivation for that, doing this. And it's just so exciting. Why did I finally have an $8,000 a month, you ask? It wasn't because I suddenly became a better painter. That did have play a key role in it, though. It wasn't because of a lucky break, that is for sure. It was like several small things that started building together. It was basically a bunch of small decisions that finally started working together. So instead of trying to build one income stream, I basically built a business where every part supports the other parts. So like looking back, I don't think the biggest lesson is how to make 8 grand a month. I think it's about learning to ask a different type of question. So instead of asking, how do I sell a painting? I started asking, what decisions today make my art business stronger from in 5 years from now? And I think it's that one question that changed everything. I hope you enjoyed that little chat, and I hope to see you soon. And sign up to my newsletter if you want to stay more up to date on the granular business stuff. It's on my website at andreafriat.com. I'll put the link below. And I will also be obviously writing about details on how to join my Mastrius group if you're interested. And in Vancouver, if you're in Vancouver in August, I will be giving some demos on Opus's acrylic essentials acrylic line. It's their house brand paint. That's fabulous. So they want me to do some workshops. So I will be doing that in August. And if you're interested in learning about acrylic paint and looking for a good professional quality yet student price paint, go check them out. Have a great one, and I hope to see you soon. Bye, guys.